Hello, this is Saul Luckman. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Conversations on Saul Luckman Uncensored, sponsored by snooze2awaken.com, resources for lucidity. For more information about my work, including a lot of cutting-edge free content, check out crowrising.com. I'm also on Telegram, where I'm lighting it up at t.me/Saul Luckman. And as always, I'm absolutely crushing it on Substack at saulluckman.substack.com, where I've just released my new book, Musings from a Small Island. This self-illustrated memoir, packed with over 150 images over 238 pages, will have you alternately bursting with laughter and bursting at the seams with new perspectives on life, death, and the curiouser and curiouser cosmos we call home. For a limited time, you can laugh along with the complete text with a free 7-day trial, which will also give you access to a wealth of additional premium content, including my award-winning novels, Callie the Destroyer and Snooze, and my international best-selling book on sound healing, Potentiate Your DNA. If you're a researcher, author, influencer, or content creator interested in talking visionary fiction, energy medicine, shamanism, simulation theory, and related topics with me on this show, by all means, drop me a line. I'm also open to coming on other podcasts as a guest to drill down into what's up in the simulacrum and how we can survive and thrive here. If you really appreciate what I'm doing, I'd really appreciate your buying me a coffee, which I'll be sure to sip in your honor at buymeacoffee.com/Saul Luckman. Today, I'm happy to reconnect with an old friend and writer colleague, Andrew Foss, who writes a wonderfully entertaining and informative Substack for astrology lovers at astrogardens.substack.com. Andrew has been a staunch supporter of my writing for years, and now is no different, as he's kindly offered to come back on the show and chat about Musings from a Small Island, among other things. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you again, my friend. It's been too long.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much for having me on. And also thank you for giving me the opportunity to read your book and to talk to you about it, because let's just say I've spent the last couple weeks reading it, and I'll just quickly jot down a notes like, oh, got to talk to him about this, got to talk to him about that. Let's just say reading a biography or an autobiography is not like reading a novel, because it's much more freeform and it's much more personal, but it allows you to talk about a lot of things just going on in life and how it kind of brings up, hey, what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I really adopted that free-flowing format for this, and I just let the story take me where it wanted to go. I had many things I could have written about because it's my life. So you have to extract or excerpt passages and moments from your life. So I tried to choose things that were funny or relevant or philosophical, that made for a good little story somewhere in there, or that, had other bearing on where I was trying to take the story. And then, to try to put a bow on it at the end with something, halfway meaningful. When I finished it, I was like, what have I done? I'm not even sure what I've done. I knew that I wanted to do a book that would have the chance to put in all of this art, so I packed it full of lots and lots of images that I attempted to make relevant to
the text. Let's just say it. I've said to you before, and for anyone who wants to know, I'm not an art critic, and I'm not really an art patron of any kind. We've got 5 paintings in our house, and all 5 of them were bought from the New Jersey Boardwalk. So you can imagine the level of artwork that shows up here. Besides, of course, pictures on the refrigerator that our kids draw. It's beach scenes, and that's about it. So my appreciation for art, I mean, I can say this. I can tell the difference between a Picasso and a Velvet Elvis, but not a whole lot past there. And the only thing I know about painting technique, I may have seen for 5 minutes watching Bob Ross on TV.
No,
So for me, it was very interesting just to hear about your perspective and how you paint and what you go about, creating your artwork.
yeah, because I do share a lot of piece
Yeah.
technique and discovery, how I came upon certain things. Like one brush technique with ink was just an accident. I just happened
Hmm.
on it one day when I kind of messed up, and I picked up some ink with a brush and set it down on the paper and then moved it around, and there was this little tattoo of the original ink sitting there, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's a
Yeah. Hey, look what that did.
yeah, and it created an entire body of work out of itself.
Hmm. I mean, I also for about a year I worked at an art school or a school of the arts here where I live. It was kind of a part-time job. They needed help with marketing, and I only had about part-time in my life to be able to put anything into it. And they say, "Here, come and do our marketing." I said, "Great." And I got there. I said, "Oh, by the way, you'll also be answering phones and doing all sorts of clerical work." I think the job only lasted about 6 months because they said I wasn't a very good receptionist. I'm like, "Well, that's good because that's not why you hired me."
Oh
But
yeah, right. That's
I
a
mean, what my job was though was they would put different classes on. They had theater arts, they had dance, and then they had other types of art, and it was my job to promote them. And I remember the one guy who did not acrylic but oil painting. I would promote his classes, and what I found there is that all of the teachers loved me because I came to them, I listened to them, and I promoted their work. The management really never paid attention to what I was doing because they didn't really see it as a value. So it was kind of funny.
and
But
this
I
is
remember him
Pennsylvania.
talking about the whole process of oil painting and how long it takes and learning the techniques. I'm like, dear God, how long does that take to figure out?
Right, right. Oil painting is very difficult in comparison to acrylics.
Oh, yeah.
I mostly just work with acrylics and ink and occasionally some odd substances like tar gel.
Hmm. Tar gel.
Yeah, it adds body without adding color, so you can create impasto or depth of
Hmm.
different surfaces, different texture using that mixed in with certain substances, certain paints. There's one painting in the book called Summer. I think it's called Summer Marsh, and you can see the lines of the tar gel on the paper,
Hmm.
and it's painted over, and it creates a kind of almost like a miniature, bas relief or 3D effect, even
Okay.
with a flat surface.
Yeah, I can see what that looks like. I've got a friend who actually a friend that I knew through the school itself, and I found out she was an artist and was at her house, and she was someone who did a lot with string and all sorts of things, and would put together these real elaborate pieces that hung on the wall. And I'm like, yeah, you're into that mixed stuff. Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah, the mixed media. That can be
Hmm.
fun, but it's not my thing to do a lot of that. I really respect people who do collage and even like various kinds of sculpture and found object art, that sort of thing. It was just never quite my passion.
Hmm. I mean, again, with art, I mean, the only artistic thing that I can say that I do would be in writing, and writing it like what you do is a process. You do writing as well. You get your way of doing it, and you just keep going as much as you can.
Right, right. Well, your writing is very good, very entertaining. I mean, you've been doing this particular form with Astro Gardens for a while. And I like your
Yeah, that's
format for that.
that's about 3 4 years, and before that, I had Brighter Side Now. That was an interesting project that I did for about 5 years, also. And the whole point of that was I was only allowed to write in the positive, absolutely nothing negative. So it was a challenge to see how to craft a sentence so you didn't use a negative word or put something in a negative light.
I love that. I love
It
that.
was it was great, but it was limiting. And there'd be, sometimes I'd be like all half cocked and want to write about something. I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way I can make this positive.
That's amazing. I forget the name of it. It might be the disappearance or disparition. Is that how it would be pronounced? It's a French book from some years ago, and I'm just trying to remember which letter the guy left out of the book, but he left out a vowel,
Uh-huh.
not used in the entire book.
Wow.
And that was the main
Hmm.
experiment that he was doing technically, and it made for some very funky kind of baroque sentences and phrasing
Hmm.
at times.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of it started around the time I started doing my Happy Monday message every Monday. And Happy Monday was the same way. It had to be a completely, totally positive statement. And it's funny because you think about people who are into self-help and positivity, people like Wayne Dyer. One of the most negative people, if you ever read his work, he always states things in the negative, and it's hard. If you want to read, go to Google and Google, like, positive statements, and read them and find a single one that is positive. They're all usually coming from a negative place, trying to make it come to a better place, but it starts in the negative. And if you follow law of attraction, you can't start from a negative place because you're still thinking negative. If you can change the way you think to all be positive, it's simply a new way of looking at it, and it doesn't take that negative energy with you.
That is really, really cool. I don't know if you've been following my recent exploration in shamanism, but you're basically describing a kind of literary way of self-stalking.
Exactly.